Hey guys, my name is Dissing, and in this video I'm going to show you how to use CPanel Wizard to render or show the controller layout for your main cabinet or your computer system. Alright, so I've always been wanting to find a consistent and easy to use way to configure layout for my control panel, and right now I actually own a Vulix control panel, so which is why I prefer this kind of layout. Before I use this software, I'm mostly using Draw.io, which is a figure tool that helps to visualize shape and stuff. And so this will be an example of the layout that I designed for the arcade MAME. You can see I have all the label and the buttons, first player, second player, and also a auxiliary panel. So I found this very hard to maintain because first of all I have to duplicate all the tabs for different system, and even if I try to edit the text, I might sometimes accidentally move the position like you see here. So I've always wanted to find a way that can programmatically or at least set the value of this label using a configuration file instead of using the drag and drop method like the editor here. So this doesn't scale well, and I don't really previously print or show this control layout in my monitor because of this issue. And yesterday I actually came across CPanel Wizard. I've always heard about it but never really paid too much attention of it, because until I realized I actually have a need for this kind of software, and this is really what it do well. Alright. So CPanel Wizard is not a tool, that is a tool that can not only render control info layout for your system. It can basically render any kind of asset that you want for a system. Like for MAME, you can use it to render high score, video snapshot or bezel, things like that. Okay, but the purpose of this video is going to show you how to do the layout thing. Alright, so first you want to download CPanel Wizard, not from the Wayback Machine, the Wayback machine link here, which I saw people posted it on Reddit link many years ago. The software here is outdated, and I actually found the author itself, Ben Baker, uploaded the whole source code for this CPanel Wizard tool in GitHub. Okay, in GitHub. So you can see the last update as of this time is 6 months ago, so it's pretty recent. So download this, go to code, download zip, extract it, and you will find it. You will find the structure like this. Okay, CPanel Wizard -master, and this is the root folder. So if you are using other frontend like Launchbox, what I did is I usually add all the add-on program in the Launchbox folder itself. So Launchbox add-on and CPanel Wizard master. So that's the extracted folder from the zip file. Alright, so the actual executable file, the exe file program, is actually not on this level. It is in bin release, and here you go, CPanel Wizard. Double click that and it should run on your system tray. You will see a red colored head here on your system tray. Double click it and it will show you the layout. So I've actually spent hours trying to figure out how the concept of designing the layout and or link it with the labels. Okay, so I'm going to go walk you through it, so listen to me carefully. Okay, there are three pieces of info you need to know about CPanel Wizard. First is the layout. Layout is where you define the buttonhole and the key label that you want to show on the render image itself. Okay, so the label itself is actually something like key code, which is like a bracket, player, and the key here. And when you let me open up MAME. When the program render the layout, I'm going to save this. When the program render the layout, when you launch a system like MAME, you wouldn't see the bracketed stuff here. What it does is it will read the control information from the MAME, sorry, and then find a match for the key code that is shown in the layout here with the actual key value that is in the configuration file. So having said that, you have to first go to options, so edit, options, go to MAME path, and make sure you select the MAME exe file from the MAME root folder. I'm using MAME 0.250, So go to that folder and I will see mame.exe here. So click that and all the value it will be automatically being filled. The CTRL is where it finds the key code for each MAME game. So this is very important. Just set this path and the rest will be automatically filled. Alright. So by default you will see this this layout, of course. You will see this. Nope. You will see this. So this is pretty typical if you ever scrap any MAME ROM from a Launchbox, which actually scrap it from MO movies or it's on DB. You will see this kind of control layout here. So just to show you, you will see something like arcade. You will see something like this, So the uploader doesn't really modify the button all by himself. I think he actually used CP Wizard to generate this, but I don't like this view. It doesn't really match with my release panel. That's why first you want to copy this file. So let me go through. You will go to the CP Wizard release folder. Go to layout and make a copy of mame.xml here. So all I did is I copy this and then name it as MAME viewlix red, which is the background that I use. Okay, so after doing this, go back to CP Wizard and open that file, and you will see the image that I showed before. So to change the background, go to edit, options, layout, and background here. Try to find a background resolution size that matches the resolution of the monitor you want to display. So for example, I'm rendering it on a custom monitor that has a resolution of 1280 x 390. Okay, so most people would actually create a PSD or Photoshop template having this size. I actually try to scale the image with this size, and I found that when rendering at this native resolution on the panel, it's blurry. Not sure is it caused by the downscale algorithm by linear nearest neighbor or something else. So I actually upsample. I actually found a background image that is 8000 by I think it's 3000 resolution, and I scale the canvas size to twice the resolution of my monitor. So this resolution times 2 would be 2560 times 780. So I did this. Alright, so since I say that, let me also introduce you to a pretty good website that I use to modify the image. I think it's oops, here, photop.com. Alright, so first create a new canvas size with the resolution twice the resolution of the monitor you want to show. Make sure the background is transparent. Click create, and you will see this. Okay, then try to find a background image that matches your control panel. Like I'm using oops, I want to zoom out. I'm using this image. So if you know about Photoshop, just use a shortcut key V and then move this to the new project that you found here and adjust the size. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, once you did this, you will see the layout here, and if you set the path of the MAME, you can do a preview on how it will look like. Okay, so go to view preview here. It will take some time to show all the list here, and you will see a list of MAME game that you detect from the MAME configuration file. So click any of this. If you click any of these, like I like to try with Street Fighter because it has more button combo. Click the red button here. I'm going to save, and you will see this, and do a full screen, and you will see this size. The reason you see is a bit skewed because the resolution doesn't fit with my. This is a 1920 times 1080 resolution. If I move this to my monitor, to this monitor, if I move that to the monitor that I want, this one, it will render properly. Okay, the scale wouldn't be like this. Okay, so this is just to make sure that everything works. You will see the original key code in that CP Wizard, is now being translated to the key it found from the configuration. Okay, so that's it. By default, the color of the button wouldn't change with the color that is defined in the main configuration file. So to do this, you have to go to, again, edit, options, go to layout, and make sure you click on this color images enable here. Make sure you click this, and then double click on each of these image and set it to the button image that you want to show. I'm downloading a custom made arcade button found from a vector PNG website. Let me show you. I put it in media, which is the recommended place to put all the assets that the CPU Wizard layout would use. And you'll see I actually let me sort by date. You see these are the custom buttons that I use. By default, it came with asset like T1, which is like a template set number 1. This one, template set number 2, T2, T3, and T4. I don't find it to my liking. The edges is not really sharp. You can see it's really blurry, so I don't like this. So I just go to a website. I just go to the let me see if I still have it open. I go to a website like vtz.com, download this, open it in Photoshop or Photopea website here, and then trim the button and crop it and save it as a separate button file. Okay, so that's how I do it. Okay, so once you have all the buttons set, to change the button, just click on any of these, right click, properties, click on this triple dot here, and you will select the image that you want to use. Okay, simple as that. You can even adjust the hue, the saturation, and the brightness. Okay, by default, the sizable option in transform would be disabled, wouldn't be checked, which means that if you use a image of 120 times 120, you won't be able to scale it. To scale the button, click on this, and you will be able to scale it like this. So if I uncheck this, I wouldn't be able to move. I can move the button, but I cannot resize it. Okay. My recommendation is to resize the button image to the size that you want. You don't want to resize it manually when you render it on the template. Okay, so first thing, make sure the background image size and the button size, everything matches with the output that you want before you do the rest. Okay, so set the color, and for MAME, you don't really need to change the label. Just use it as it is, which is copied from the original MAME template. Adjust the position to your layout holes and make sure everything is rendered properly. Okay, and then of course you want to save it. All right. So that's set up for the MAME. But what if you want to use the same CPU Wizard but to render layout for other custom emulator, such as RetroArch, RPCS, PSPPP, and so on and so forth. Okay, so this is where my hours of research could probably help you. Just like when you duplicate the layout for the MAME, you want to go to the release folder again, go to layout, and this time again select a template that you want. Like I based on this background, so I just copy and paste this. So once you did that, pay attention to the following files that you might want to change. I'm using a Visual Studio editor. Sorry, I'm actually introducing some tools that I use, so if you want, you can use the same tool. Okay, so using Visual Studio, I open a folder and select the bin release folder, and you will see bin release folder, and you will see all this stuff, good stuff. Okay, so there are two more additional files you want to copy. So first is the layout file for the system. So in this case, I have a Sony PlayStation RetroArch. Let me close off this. Let me close everything here. Okay, let me close everything. So I copied this and name it the Sony PlayStation RetroArch. The naming convention I use is the platform name underscore the emulator name. Alright, the reason is because I put the emulator logo in the system. Okay. Alright, so this is a file that you will see. Everything that you do in the editor here is actually translated as a string or text in here, so it's very easy to modify or copy. Okay, So that's settle it. Next, you want to go to label. Okay, go to data for expand data folders. Go to label. Now you want to create the you want to copy the INF file and then name it to the platform name. So for example, I'm now trying to lay out for Sony PlayStation, so I copy say Nintendo 64.ini and then paste it and rename as Sony PlayStation ini. So this is where things get very interesting. How do you tell CPU Wizard to load this layout? And when loading that layout, so when loading this layout, refer to the label here. So there is a missing piece here. We are settled with, we know layout, we know labels. Labels is what is rendered in the layout. The thing that binds these together is what CPU Wizard called profile. So if I go, just like before, copy any existing file here. So I'm basing my template on Project 64, which is included by default. So copy this, name it to emulator name dash the system name. So in my case, I rename it as RetroArch dash Sony PlayStation. Sorry. So here you will see the two important definition here. First, you want to make sure that the layout here, the layout value, matches the layout file that you just created in the layout folder. Make sure, and I emphasize, make sure that you don't use any space in between the layout file name. Previously, I've used a space and it will crash. I think it's a program error. Okay, so for now, name your layout file name without space or use underscore like I did. Okay, sorry, I should have named it to okay, I should have named it as this one. Okay, so this name has to match with the file name in the layout. Alright, the labels value has to match with the label file name that you put in the labels folder. Okay, for labels file name you can put spaces, not for layout. Okay, space only works for labels file name. So this is why it works. You don't really need to fill the database and executable. We don't really need use exe this here because this is a feature that is used by CPU Wizard to know which profile to open when you open an emulator. By default, I don't want this. I want to issue the command manually, which CPU Wizard has. It's a built-in command line interface. Okay, so we set everything to false, make it as easy as possible. Again, the name here has to match with the profile name here. Okay, there are two only profile files and label file can have spaces, not layout. Okay. Alright, so the name here has to match with the name of the profile. The name of the label has to match with the file name of the labels, and the layout has to match with the layout. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. So once you did this, save it to verify CPanel Wizard can detect it. Close the program, reopen it, go to Edit, Options, Profiles, and you will see it here. So if you set the profile unable to true, you would see it being checked here. Okay, so everything that is shown in the rest of the column is actually parsed from the file name itself, so you don't have to do it from the UI. Okay, so once you did this, we are almost done. Okay. I think you actually done. We're actually done. To verify, next is to run the command interface. Okay, the view preview window here wouldn't show the profile that we just created. These are just the main ROMs. To test it, we have to use command line. Alright, so let me increase the text here. Let me clear the console. Alright, you want to use this command argument. Go to the release folder of CPU Wizard and then issue this command cpwizard.exe, the executor file name. Give it a .-emu argument, and make sure to put a double quote for the value of the emulator. This value has to match with the name of the profile. So right now I'm trying to test this layout, so I do this .-emu and then double quotation the value of the name here. Okay, sorry about that.
And next we want to select a game argument, dash game argument. What this means is, go back to the labels INI here. You will see a section defined in the INI file. By default, you will see this. So this has two game argument that we can use, default and Mario Kart 64. This is by default. Okay, in our case we usually just want to use default. Okay, I don't want to complicate stuff unless I want to have a separate label per game. Okay, this is just a label for the emulator, so I just use default. The dash game argument, you have to provide with it with the name of the section here, so I've used default. The rest, dash minimize, dash show, this is so that CPU Wizard doesn't show the layout file. Here you want to run it in the background, you just want to render the image in the monitor. Okay, and then dash show to show the UI. If you do everything right, you don't really need to provide the dash layout argument here, because it will be read from the profile name here. Okay, make sure this one matches. Okay, execute this one and you will see that monitor, that CPU Wizard panel rendered in the monitor. It wouldn't be rendered like this. It will replace all the label that you define in the label file with the label that is in the layout. Right, so I just realized I didn't mention about how the labeling key, how the labels in the layout is being replaced with the label you define in the INF file. Okay, so let me show an illustration. So say I open Sony PlayStation, I open the layout, I open the Sony PlayStation layout. You will see this key code. So notice the difference between the label here with the label that we just showed in the MAME. Okay, let me open it again. In MAME, you will see square bracket key code. These are special label used by CPU Wizard to find a match in the main configuration file. If there is a match, then change it with the label there. Whereas when we define a custom emulator, like the Sony PlayStation layout, you don't want to use square bracket. Okay, you don't want to use square bracket. You want to go to the label and make sure you set the code type to the last one, custom text. Don't put a bracket in between. Don't put this, because when you save it, if you save the layout, it will treat this as a special key code. Okay, so don't put spaces for the text you enter for custom text code type. Sorry. Okay, so make sure you do this, very important. So after you set all this label, go to your INF file here. Let me split it to left and right. Go to your INF file. I'm opening my Sony PlayStation label file, and you will see there are two important parts that define the configuration in the INF file: the key followed by a equal sign and then the value. So if I have this definition, CPU Wizard will try to find a label. It will try to find a matching label within the INF file. So for example, if you try to find a space, it detects there's a label called space in the layout, and then it try to find, is there any match of the space label in the label file? If yes, replace that value with the value here. So which is why when we render this layout, you will see all the label being changed immediately if it can find a match. Okay, if you don't want to set anything, just put random, just don't put anything after the equal sign. Don't put double quote, because it will render the double quote too. Okay, make sure you do this, and the rest are pretty straightforward. You can use semicolon to comment out a section. So I'm using this to group that these are the key used by player 1, these are the key used by player 2. So if I go to player 2 here, you will see all the code used by player 2. I should have renamed this to ASDF instead of key code. I didn't do that. Okay, so but you get the idea. Alright, for the label that for the key that is not being shown in the layout, of course it wouldn't show. Okay, in my original draw.io layout, I actually have also a side panel in my layout, so that has this key, this hotkey. But in my CPU Wizard layout, I didn't put that. I don't want to complicate stuff. Okay, so that's why I still put it in my INF file, but I don't show it. I don't create the label in the layout. All right. So if you want to have a per game title, so for example, if your favorite game is Final Fantasy 7 and you want to use a custom label for different buttons, so you want to You want to change the triangle sign to menu. You want to set X to cross to confirm. If you want to do that, you can define another separate block called not default but probably like Final Fantasy or the Final 7, and then just define the key that you want to change the name with. So for example, this one. How it works is if it detect there's a label in the layout but it couldn't find it in the dash game argument here. For example, Final Fantasy here. So for the layout, say we have emu platform and emu name here. We have these two key, but we didn't define in the Final Fantasy 7 block. Don't worry, it will always go to the default block and find the name here, and if found, then replace the word. Alright, so treat default as the fallback of the label that you define in the layout. If the label is not found in the game block that you define, you'll find it always in the default. Okay, very important. Okay. Alright, so another final touch is by default it will render the arrow if you show it in the monitor. Okay, by default these two are unable, so you will see the blue arrow and the spot. The spot is the circle dot here. Okay, so if you didn't uncheck those buttons, it will show the blue arrow, the ugly blue arrow in the final render image. Okay, you don't want to do that. To hide it, there are two ways. First, you can keep the menu option checked, but go to properties, or not this one, but the label, and you can uncheck the display. I don't want to do that because sometimes I want to make sure things are centered, so I use this as a reference. If the label can cover and reach a point until I cannot see the arrow, I know that this is in the center. Alright. If you find this tedious, simply go to edit options, data, display, just uncheck these two. Click OK and it wouldn't show in the final render image. Okay, let's see what else can I do. I'll make sure dynamic data loading is unchecked. This will mess up with when it try to find the key match with MAME. So make sure this is always set to disable. The thing is, I also uncheck all of these options. I just keep topmost. I don't check give focus or foreground because it will move your mouse cursor to the render image. So if I open MAME, if I render CP Wizard image, I open MAME, if the control panel image will grab the focus and MAME emulator will show in the background. I don't want that. I don't want that because I have to do that alt tab to go to MAME window. I don't want to do that. So just check topmost. Make sure color image is checked. Main filters, you don't really need to mess about with this. I didn't study much about this. Main path we just covered in the first part. Make sure all the button here is checked. Input, pretty straightforward. Don't need to do that. Display data. Alright. So by default, if you unchecked show CP only in general data options, if you try to view it here, you would see the menu of CP Wizard. Okay, so if you have that unchecked, you will see this. So CP Wizard actually has a hidden menu where you can use it to show different stuff. So the control panel is the one that we use. To navigate, use up, down arrow, and then escape to see the menu, and left control, again left control to enter the selection. Right. So you can see that it can actually render quite a lot of stuff here. History, MAME info. You can have it render in a sub monitor. Okay, but I don't cover it in this video. Okay, at most you can use CP Wizard to render stuff on two separate monitor, which is what we call layout sub, right? And to decide which monitor this render image will be shown, the first display is where the control panel will always be shown, so that's the first. The second is the subscreen. Okay, I don't play around with this, so I can't comment much about this. Alright, so that's about it. So make sure you understand all the things, the layout, what is the layout, what is the label, and profile is the thing that glues label and layout together. You will know the rest of the details. Alright, so thank you for watching and wish you have a good guide or a good experience on using CPU Wizard, and share in the comment below if you find this useful, or if you can help me to find a Viewlix diamond black vector image for the background. Alright, so right now I'm using a diamond black layout, but I'm using a red background as the control panel. Okay. Alright, so until next time, in part 2, if needed, I will show you how to configure Launchbox or Bigbox, which is a very popular front end to launch other emulator to play games. How to set those to automatically run CPU Wizard with the layout that match the system when you start the game. Alright. Okay, until next time, thank you.